So it's that kind of journey, and that's what we call the entire customer or member journey. It's this much more of a dialogue, and we're doing it leveraging data. The other thing you can do with the data is you can do all sorts of analysis in terms of how much money do I actually contribute as an individual on an annual basis. So besides my annual dues, it's the frequency by which I purchase. It's like going to the annual meeting, going to other symposia, etc. Perhaps I'm also purchasing publications. We can look at my volunteer interests, how active I am. So all of a sudden you can start to understand, if you look at different various both demographic and behavioral data in mass, you'll start to put the pieces of the puzzle together of who Max Suzenaar is, what's important to him, how I as an association executive can provide and serve up the things that are important to Max and can bring him into communities of other like-minded people, offering introductions to advance his knowledge, to grow his professional network. And so you become a true resource or home as a professional, as opposed to just kind of a hard and fast, I'm going for education, I'm going for networking. I'm being introduced to a community, even a subset of the community, that is of value. It provides me with an ROI. I'm going to invest my time, my interest, my expertise as a volunteer. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to invest more money into your organization, increasing my loyalty and increasing my engagement. So we have incredible opportunity. And what it takes is this. If people say, well, we don't have data. Everybody's got data. A spreadsheet is data. But what you need to do is, regardless of where you are on that data continuum, you start with what you have. You look for what demographic data and what behavioral data you might have. And what we need to do as a second point is first identify all the data, then you need to aggregate it. So meaning, if Max Suzenaar has purchased a publication as a non-member, I probably sit over here in some publication database. And for many associations, this could also be outside of my organization. So they're a contracted supplier. But I also know that internally, I've gone to the annual meeting, so I've got my registration, my housing. It could get much more detailed. You could, if I sign in with my email account, all of a sudden you can track my behavior on your app. You can see my perceptions through surveys that go out. So you start to aggregate a lot of that data. And what you need to do is take the publications database with the AMS database, with the meetings and the meeting app. And if you put that all together, all of a sudden you start to create a profile of who Max Suzenaar is, as well as preferences. You'll also be able to see, gosh, other people like Max Suzenaar with these same characteristics also were interested in X, Y, and Z. So a very simple analogy is, if you ever download music, you'll see that when you go back to search for new music or libraries, there'll be people like you who are interested in this, this, and this. They're actually proactively suggesting, or if you download books, based on your history of books, they'll put the same authors, genres, topics, so that you can explore those, because they know or they believe, this is all we know, so we think you have interest in this, and so they watch my further patterns of exploration. So in the same way that we see this in the consumer world in a much more sophisticated manner, we're seeing it happen with associations. And with 100% guarantee, this is how associations are going to have to operate into the future. So you have data, you have to explore how to continuously gather data without being irritating, for lack of a better term. And so you take the demographic and behavioral data, start to aggregate it all, take it from your different sources. Once you do that, you have the power to start analyzing that data to make powerful decisions for yourself. And in the interim, you've also created a very customized experience for your member. One point I want to bring up too is people are always very member-centric. And I certainly understand that from the standpoint of we're mission-driven, we're serving this profession, and our members are also, many of them are volunteers. But the non-members are also equally as important, because you either want to have a plan to learn more about those people and bring them into the fold in terms of membership, potentially, or you simply want more engagement from a transactional nature. So think of them as customers. They're interacting with you, but the more you know about them, the more responsive they're going to be, because you're going to be able to have this dialogue with them and bring them and introduce them into communities that are important to you. So there's an incredible amount of power. I know this is in data, this is a very short top line, how you can benefit. But again, it's the wave of the future. It is something that if you're not doing, you can still be in the very early stages, but super important that you look proactively ahead at what type of data you have, creating a data strategy, perhaps a data warehouse. Some of you may need outside assistance in terms of consultants. There are some really very sharp tools, people, professionals out there that can assist you to kind of jumpstart this process so you're not left behind, because it's not a flip of a switch. It's also a cultural change within your team. So very exciting time. You'll learn to lose fear about data, and it can be an incredibly rewarding and beneficial use of the data to grow your organization, but more importantly, to really provide value and ROI that's very customized and personable and personalized to your members and your non-members.